When you hear about something like jnana yoga, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably someone sitting alone, meditating, kind of retreating from the world, right? But what if I told you that this inward path, this deep introspection, could actually be the most powerful way to change the entire world around us? It's a huge idea, so let's really get into it. And that really is the central puzzle we're going to try and solve today. It just feels like a total contradiction, doesn't it? If the whole focus is on looking inward, how in the world can that be relevant to everything happening outward? It's a great question, and we're definitely going to unpack it. All right, so to even begin to answer that, we first have to talk about the person at the heart of all this, the seeker, or what's called a jnani. And honestly, our whole idea of who that person is, well, it's probably wrong. Okay, so check this out. A jnani is any person who uses their intellect to try and understand the world and their place in it. This definition is so important because it just completely flips that old stereotype on its head. A jnani isn't someone who's running away from the world. It's actually anyone who's actively using their brain to figure it all out. It's not about retreating, it's about deep, active engagement. And what that really means is these seekers are literally all around us. They're hiding in plain sight. Think about it. That technological inventor who's obsessed with a problem, or a doctor relentlessly searching for a new cure, even a musician composing a piece of music, or a scholar poring over ancient texts. These are all JNEs. Every single one of them is using their intellect to dig for some kind of deeper truth about how this whole universe ticks. But here's the thing. This whole path of active, curious seeking, it's actually pretty fragile. There's this trap, a really dangerous one, that entire societies can fall into the moment that seeking stops and rigid, unquestioning belief takes over. So let's just walk through how this happens. It always starts with something pure, right? A revelation, a divine message. And at first, scholars study it. They try to understand all its layers. But then comes the mistake. People stop looking at the original message, and instead they start treating the interpretations of that message as if they're the divine thing. And that's it. Game over. New thinking just stops dead in its tracks. Scholarship is no longer about seeking truth, it's about studying what old scholars said. And the entire society just gets stuck looking backwards. And here's the real kicker. When those interpretations become dogma, when they become unchangeable rules, they turn into a tool for control. It's how people hold on to power. They rely on everyone accepting these old interpretations without question. So, of course, they discourage new ideas, new questions, new scholarship, because any of that threatens the very foundation their power is built on. And the result? Society just stops moving forward. It stagnates. So, okay, that's a pretty big societal problem, right? So what's the solution for us as individuals? Well, it all starts with understanding that we basically have two main purposes in life. On one side, you've got the societal purpose. This is the one we all know, right? Be a productive member of society, contribute, follow the laws, you know the drill. But then there's this other purpose, a much deeper one that we often forget about, our own spiritual evolution. This is about using that same intellect, but turning it inward, using it to ponder the big questions about life and our own existence. And this, right here, is where we get to the absolute heart of the matter. How do we actually do that? How do we fulfill that deeper spiritual purpose? The answer is by learning how to read the script that's already written inside every single one of us. Now, this is a huge shift in how we think about things like scriptures. The idea here is that they were never meant to be the final destination. Think of them more like a map, a roadmap that's designed to point you back to the real source of wisdom, which is already inside your own consciousness. They're just the starting point for a journey you have to take inward. I mean, listen to this. We all have the ultimate guide embedded within ourselves. We only need to reach inward and seek that source. That is the core idea. The ultimate guide isn't out there in some book or in some building. It's already in you. The real challenge is just figuring out how to quiet all the noise from the outside world so you can finally hear it. So how do you actually do that? Well, it's not as complicated as it sounds. It really just starts with simple, intentional things, like taking some time away from all the distractions of the world, just pausing and thinking, to consciously decide to look inwards and just listen. Because that voice, that inner guide, it's there, and it's actually eager to talk to you. And this is where it all comes full circle. This is how we finally answered that big question from the beginning. This whole journey inward,
It's not a selfish thing at all. In fact, it's the very foundation for building a better world.
Think about it. When a person actually connects with that inner guide, when they find that inner balance, their actions just naturally become better, more positive, more constructive. They don't need a bunch of external rules telling them how to be a good person, because it just flows naturally from who they've become on the inside. And this leads to a pretty radical thought, doesn't it? What if the solution to all our societal problems isn't more rules, more laws, more external controls? What if the real answer is helping more people find their own internal guidelines to help them become more balanced from the inside out? And that right there is the ultimate payoff. This was never about one person going off to a mountaintop. It's about a ripple effect. The idea is that when enough people start this inward journey, when enough people find that balance, the whole collective starts to shift. Society begins to heal itself, naturally, organically, from the inside out. So we'll leave you with this final powerful idea, this call to action really. Don't be misguided into becoming a believer. Become a seeker of truth. The path forward for you, for me, for all of us isn't about just blindly believing what we're told. It's about becoming an active, relentless seeker of truth, both out there in the world and maybe most importantly, deep within yourself.